inspired me to start recreating a lot of our vintage designs. And that's a bad image. This is kind of interesting. I come from a family of people that never threw anything out, and from an archival standpoint, that's kind of a good thing. But from a day-to-day standpoint, we got a problem with clutter. But when we were renovating the building, I had to clear out an office supply room, and in the very back, and this is why you do things yourself, because if I'd had our staff do it, all the good stuff would be out in the dumpster. So I'm in there with a group of people, and we have this very small office supply room that I'd never been to the back of because it was filled with so much stuff. Well, we finally cleared it out, and in the very back was this rolled up from the 1950s. It's a linen poster, and I've never seen another one, but it's really quite beautiful. Now, this is a wooden sign that my grandfather did in the 40s, and it's got our logo on it. And one of the things that's interesting about Rockmount is that we've maintained a strong consistency in both our branding and our products. And that logo has never changed, our label has never changed in terms of the general design. The colors have changed and so on, but the name Rockmount and that logo is something I hold near and dear. And we've run it consistently for over 65 years, and that's part of the reason why we have a strong profile. This is kind of interesting. I found this when I was researching my book. I went to visit a collector in Costa Mesa, California, and he had this in his collection, and I felt like it kind of seemed familiar to me in some obscure way, but I'd never seen, or hadn't seen one. Maybe I'd seen one when I was a kid or something. It's this size, and I really wanted it, and he wouldn't give it to me. And he said, if I ever decide to sell it, you'll be the first to know. Well, I'll tell you, this is back to the thing about my father and grandfather never throwing anything away. When we were renovating the first floor of the building, we had to tear out some cabinetry in my grandfather's office and found the original artwork, and it turns out there were 5 different patterns, and this is one of them right here in that group. And this is something kind of interesting. The thing about Western wear is it reminds me of like 1950s cars. Remember when you could identify a car by its grille or its fins or something special? Well, the same with shirts back in the 50s and 60s and 40s. They had details that you could say, oh, that's so-and-so, that's a Rockmount. Well, this one is from the 50s, and it has all this very great detailing, and I kind of think that looks like a Gothic arch in a way over the pocket, and then it has a 3-point pocket. I think this would be one of my dad's designs. But this is the kind of thing that cannot be designed by a committee. This takes people who are artists, and I feel that much of that was lost as fashion became a commodity, and partly it became a commodity because of the cost of labor. This was sewn by a fine seamstress. Those people are not sewing in the United States today. And as labor became very expensive, a lot of the design in all of fashion in this country became much more generic. Well, Rockmount has stuck to this idea that we have to do special treatments, and that's kind of how we've maintained our brand and why we stand somewhat on our own overall in our industry. And I just love that just because it's so unusual. Here's another one my father did, very stylized yoke and smile pocket treatment. This is in the 50s. This is a shirt from the 40s. It has real mother of pearl snaps. It has a gusset in the side of the tails. Here's Elvis. This is kind of an interesting story. I'm watching an Elvis retrospective while I'm in a hotel in Dallas, and it's the movie that they're showing is Love Me Tender. And I noticed the shirt, I think, hey, that's Billy's wearing a Western shirt. And after about 10 minutes, it dawned on me I had the same shirt in our collection that my father had saved from the time when he was in the Army in the early 50s. And it was exactly that shirt. And then the Elvis allowed us to use the image in my book. This is Eric Clapton. Some years ago, I get an email late in the day, and everybody in the office has gone home, and it reads, it's from Lord Knobrot. So I think it's porn, and immediately open. It says, I've been traveling the United States for 40 years, and I've been buying your shirts, and I'm right now in a store in Covent Garden in London, and they have some of your shirts, but I went online, and I see how many you've got. Can I order from you? Eric Clapton. Yes, you probably think this is a bogus email, so here's my phone number. Well, and he says, if you reply, you make an old English rock star very happy. So I call home, and I said, Wendy, I'm going to be a little late. I have to write Eric Clapton. She says, make it short. So I had to edit my 2 pages down to about a half a page. And we had this torrential correspondence, he and I, because he was very obsessive. He wanted all these shirts, and he ordered a pile of shirts. And on Tuesday, and that was on Monday, we shipped them to London. On Tuesday, he's back online, and he wants more shirts. And he says, and I want to wear them at the Cream reunion on Thursday. And he didn't understand that it takes more than 2 days for a shipment from Denver to get to London. So I write it back, and I said, there's one way you can have some shirts, and that's if I hand deliver some, which I'd be prepared to do. He writes back, he says, you're my kind of guy. I'm taking you to the concert, and so on. So I only know one person I can call who can leave the next day to go to London to meet Eric Clapton. I call my buddy, and we get to London at 7 in the morning, haven't slept, and I'm thinking, wow, this is bogus. So I had a phone number, and I had to find a working phone booth. There was, that took 10 or 12 feet, because that's English telecom for you. Anyway, to make a long story short, it was the real deal. We go to the Royal Albert Hall, we meet Eric, and he had sent me this photograph, by the way, because he said, what other colors do you make in this shirt? And he wanted me to see it. And I said, can I use that in advertising? He said, yeah, but what's in it for me? And I said, how about a 10% discount? So he lets me use it. Anyway, to make a long story short, we went to the concert, we met him, we had some food with him, met his family, and then afterwards we go back to the green room thinking, let's have a last bite, because it's about 11 o'clock at night. We walk into the green room, and when we were there earlier, there hadn't been anyone else there. This time, we walk in the door and just stopped dead, because we got Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Paul Wyman, Tom Hanks, Jennifer Aniston. Anyway, I'm standing there like, what am I going to say to Ringo, right? And Tom Hanks walks over and he says, hi, I'm Tom. And we start talking to Tom, and he's very nice about it, really. We've talked to him. He's intimidated by these people as well. And so after about 15 minutes, I said, oh, he's there filming the Da Vinci Code. So after 15 minutes, I said, hey, do you mind if we take a photograph? I have a camera in my pocket. So I reach for the closest person who has his back to me and hand him my camera. I tap his shoulder, and it's Ringo. This is Clark Gable in the Misfits with Marilyn Monroe. There's Bob Dylan, Robert Redford, and this is the movie Brokeback Mountain, where Ang Lee specifically asked if Rockmount would supply shirts for the movie, and when the costume person called me, she said, we're doing this movie with Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's written by Annie Proulx and Larry McMurtry, and our director, Ang Lee, really wants to use Rockmount. And I said, that's great, we'll be happy to do it. She says, there's one thing I have to tell you about the movie. This is a shirt we did for the Medal of Honor. If you recall, in 2008, the Medal of Honor convened in Denver, and over 120 recipients came to Denver, and they were given shirts by Rockmount, which were made for them.